a lot of what is called Black Twitter was getting pissed. Getting a little worked up at me for discussing, having the gall, the audacity to discuss Beyonce. First of all, some of the people were saying I don't even deserve or have the right to speak about Beyonce, the wonderful royalty that is Beyonce Knowles. Ooh. Which is ridiculous. Keep your name out her mouth. I got a lot of that. I got a lot of that. And then the conversation started out simple enough. I had posted that her coming out with a country album, which who gives a crap? I don't give a about what albums Beyonce puts out, how she wants to dress. If she wants to dress like a clown, do so. The point of my post was that a lot of times white performers, celebrities, stars in movies, if they are cast in a certain as a certain ethnicity, they catch a lot of for practicing what is known as cultural appropriation. And this is when I guess certain cultures feel that white people are ripping them off. They're taking advantage of their culture. And that, for some reason, is taboo. So people get pissed. They talk about it. Sometimes the celebrity in question actually bows down and apologizes, which is, again, ridiculous. The apology for anything, for being called racist, sexist, homophobic, whatever it is, the apology is the worst possible thing you can do. They will not accept it, first of all. It's never accepted. Like, okay, you can go about your business. You've apologized. All it is a power thing. They love seeing it. They love seeing groveling. And then they're going to do whatever they were going to do anyway. If they decided that you were the person that had to be ripped down that day and canceled and lose your job and whatever else, they're going to continue with that, apology or not. So why bother? And meanwhile, none of these apologies are actually sincere. You can tell by how over the top they always are. From the bottom of my heart, I sincerely apologize. I am so sorry. And you're like, shut the fuck up. No one is ever that sorry. Hi, this is Anthony Cumia.
Hello, I'm Gavin McInnes.
And together we're Compound Censored.
And we would like you to subscribe with this deal using this promo code right below me right now.
Do it, because it's very entertaining. You fucking back out of the driveway and run your kid over. You're not that sorry. These people just, they grovel. Because either they're unbelievably guilt-ridden for reasons unknown, or they're petrified. And I think most of the people that apologize to these interest groups, whether they be, Black Lives Matter, gays, whatever the group is, the minority interest group, when you apologize to these groups, you just look weak. And I don't think it's really helping your cause. Like I said, they're just going to do what they want to do with you anyway. Grind you up, spit you out the other end, and they have another victory under their belt. So, excuse my voice again. Still, I don't know why. It's not like I'm yelling, although I was a little bit. I was playing some PGA 2K23 golf last night, and I could have been yelling. I think I was yelling. Maybe I should just not talk. Only during the show I should talk. So Black Twitter was getting a little upset with me because I dared suggest that perhaps Beyonce Queen Beyonce, was practicing that very cultural appropriation that they talk about when anyone, usually white people, I guess, um, borrow from another culture, or it's perceived that they're borrowing. It's gotten so ridiculous where, it's not like a white person's walking around in a dashiki saying, hey, check out this new fashion I just invented. I'm not talking about that. Braided hair. Sometimes you see these filthy little surfer white kids and they have dreads and they catch shit about having dreads, braids. You have a half a scalp full of cornrows as a white person, and sometimes you catch some shit about cultural appropriation. Hoop earrings. I never even knew this. I never even knew hoop earrings was like something that is a problem with cultural appropriation. But it is, and it's always spouted out as, you're stealing our culture. So I just decided to tweet something. For the rare time it wasn't a response to something, it was just my own tweet. There's Beyonce, and there it is. That tweet. Okay, when white people borrow from black culture, they lose their minds and scream about racial appropriation. When blacks borrow from white culture, they scream that they're not being accepted and fawned over, perpetual victimhood. This was an observation I made. I don't believe it breaks any of the X terms of service. I don't think it's grounds for suspension from it. It's an observation of how the perception of racial appropriation is dealt with differently between the two races. That's it. So Beyonce here is gussied up as a cowgirl, a sexy cowgirl. It's like Halloween every day for some communities, isn't it? Just Halloween every day. Okay, she's got some type of chaps thing going on. The cowboy hat. I don't know what the shirt thing is. Big fucking tits. I could say that, I guess. I don't know what's allowed on Twitter. On YouTube. Hopefully I'm not blowing up YouTube right now. I'm not going to get a strike or get suspended for pointing out certain things. She got some little panty shorts on, a Western belt with the big customary cowboy big silver belt buckle. And I'm sure cowboy boots, right? She's wearing some boots. Can't tell. Well, you could add those in later. You could AI those in later. Because she has a country album out. Believe it, I don't even know what the fuck it's called. More importantly, I don't care what it's called. But I don't know, for some reason, she went country. Good for her. Good for her. But it's that hypocrisy and double standard, the bigger picture of this whole thing that I get that I point out. I just like pointing it out, and I did. And then Black Twitter went insane. Dude, this has, I believe, 15.1 million views. Yeah. Opie's got to be so mad. The Opster's got to be so mad. Opster likes going viral. He loves, getting a video out there or a post on social media that goes viral. I think 15 million views classifies as viral. So, it got the attention of what is known as Black Twitter, and they were going off about this and saying that this is not cultural appropriation. I don't know why, how. This is a look that I believe you can trace back to the Old West, cowboys, the men that conquered the West, America's great West, that left the comfort of the urban areas of the East and struck out on that trail of danger to make a better life for themselves out West, raising cattle, farming, panning for gold, whatever it was. But then again, all this stuff starts coming in about how, hey, Anthony, hold on now. Black people invented cowboys. So I'm like, what? What? When did that happen? And then, you know, they start getting into, and I, of course, go along. I got a viral Twitter post here. I'm going to milk it. I'm not going to leave that alone. I'm going to milk this fucking thing for all it's worth. So I, you know, start with some engagement myself, trying to dispel this notion that Africans brought over during the slave trade later went on to invent being cowboys. So I was just like, wait a minute. How and when did that happen? I believe there were Spaniards and Mexicans, vaqueros, I believe they were called, that, you know, worked the land and cattle and whatnot when the Spaniards had brought horses over to this hemisphere. You know, a lot of people know white people that went out west became cowboys. The age of the cowboy, too, is very short-lived, a historical period. It's not really this long thing. It was a portion of the mid to late 1800s, early 1900s, the beginning of the industrial age. And then, cowboys were gone. Just fucking no need anymore. But the tradition of what was that called? The something trail, where they would take the cattle and get along little doggy them. You know, cattle drives. That was a thing. They had to get cattle from point A to point B, and they would have cowboys that would keep them together and move them along and make sure there weren't any rustlers happening. And those were cowboys. And the idea that you had to move cattle that way didn't last long. Once, you know, they started getting railroads and things like that and other methods, processing on site instead of having to take them somewhere. This all kind of stopped the cowboy thing in the late early 1900s. So to think that from the time of the end of the Civil War, when slavery was abolished, which was the middle of the middle to the end of the 1800s, 1860s, to the beginning of the 1900s, that's an awful short period of time for former slaves to get their stuff together, move out west, come up with a way to dress, ride horses, and learn how to drive cattle. Just seems like the time period there, as opposed to white settlers that migrated from the east to the west, learning how to dress more appropriately for the great Western outdoors, knowing what they needed and how to use a horse and use other beasts of burden as their farm equipment or transportation, or to rope cattle. All these things. Everything has a purpose. Western boots they look like that for a reason. The toes are pointy to get in those stirrups, you know? it isn't just like you decide to dress up like that. It's an evolutionary thing. So yeah, it just seems like an awful short period of time for black people to stop being slaves and get their get all their gear together and invent the concept of the cowboy when it had already been being done in the Southwest with Mexicans and Spaniards and different iterations of what could be classified as cowboys in other cultures. But then the American Western cowboy seems that a giant majority of those were white settlers from the East Coast making their way out west. And, southwestern Mexicans that came up into America, became Americans, and shared some of that cultural aspect of equestrianism and raising cattle and things of that nature. So, yeah. And of course, they went full bullshit on trying to educate me on that concept. And then it just got into the ludicrous, the ridiculous ideas that country music itself, invented by black people. And I'm like, all right, well, give me some information on this. And then some people were just like, hey, the banjo was invented in Africa. I'm like, the banjo. Okay, let me see what they're talking about. I'm always game. I'll hit a link. I'll look at something online. So I look this up, and indeed, I have another tweet about the banjo, if you could find that. And yes, there was a stringed instrument many years ago that was created in Africa, as were a few stringed instruments, a lute, a certain type of lute. That word has taken on a new meaning in certain communities, hasn't it? It's spelled different, L-U-T-E, the lute. And it looks kind of like a guitar made out of a gourd and a stick, and using whatever was available for strings. So it's like, oh, so you're going to say that was the precursor to the banjo. Well, look at a modern banjo with all the technology, actually, innovation put into it to make it look and sound and function as it does. There you go. That's a beautiful modern banjo. I think these are predominantly used by Southern country bands, bluegrass, here in the United States at least, which are predominantly white people. But laying claim to this was Black Twitter last night in an argument. Do you have the picture of the original? There you go. I couldn't tell if this was a instrument or an oar or something, but, hey, it takes a lot of iterations of something to make it the final kind of thing, like a banjo looking like a modern banjo. But, okay, there's a stringed instrument. Stringed instruments, they go back thousands of years. Just about every culture, when they first started putting together civilizations, had some type of stringed instrument. I think when primitive man discovered how to make a bow and arrow, and somebody plucked that bow and it went boom, they're like, hey, that sounds kind of cool. There's the inventor of the stringed instrument. Some guy that was out to shoot a mammoth, a woolly mammoth with a bow and arrow. So, again, I don't think you could really trace down the absolute origin of a stringed instrument. Like I said, thousands of years, many cultures had the idea of tightening a string on a structure and plucking it and making a sound. So again, to try to absolutely take credit for something like the banjo because of a primitive stringed instrument is a little silly. The refined version of the banjo was obviously created by people that were a little more technically knowledgeable about the different forms and theories of music, able to turn natural resources into refined metals and wood, machinery. Tuning heads are geared systems, all those things that are very innovative that contributed to civilizations and societies. So, yeah, but, Black Twitter started getting on me about that. And then all country music, like because of the blues, which, was the musical response to oppression, sadness. For some reason, that was the invention of country music. I don't know how. I do believe they were playing some form of country music, what could be classified as country music, before, predating North American, what would later become America, slavery. So I don't know. There were fiddles, a little fiddle, those little pipes, little flutes, with a very kind of southern or country or western lilt to the music by settlers that came here in the first place in the 1600s. So I don't know how much credit one peoples can take for a genre of music, especially one so vast as country music. But again, they were completely getting off the point to try to distract from my original argument, which was Beyonce is dressed like a working class Western white woman. These are women dress. I know it's more provocative the way she has presented it in that picture. If you want to pop that up again, a little more provocative. But truth be told, this is the attire, the traditional attire of a working white Western woman. Traditional. The norm. I know there are exceptions to the rules, obviously. People of many cultures and backgrounds dress like this if they were born and raised in the West, or they just want to dress like that in New York. Who gives a shit? But to say this isn't a traditional dress, again, the provocative version of it, but the traditional dress of a working Western white woman is a little crazy. It's a little, you're being deceptive, at least. You're not being honest. And that was my only point is go ahead, do it. Like, I don't even care. My point was the hypocrisy and double standard when a white person would want to wear dreads or cornrow braids or a style of clothing that is traditionally an African or Jamaican or Caribbean style of dress or hair or makeup. So, yeah, that was my point. And again, 15 million views later, Black Twitter is still a little fucking annoyed with me. And all the usual bullshit. Oh, you're a racist. You're this, you're that. And I go, yeah, okay. Whatever you want to call me. I have to really hearken back to try to think of a time where being called a racist bothered me, if ever. But I do believe, especially when I was in traditional radio, FM radio, I felt threatened that I was going to lose my job. And I eventually did, but it wasn't over a racial thing. So, Sex for Sam at St. Pat's. Look it up if you're new to the program today on YouTube. It was, but yeah, maybe that bothered me. Working at Sirius Satellite Radio, I know they were very nervous about the Opie and Anthony show because, we said things and did things and pushed things that were racial, sexual, ethnic, religious, all that. And they were a little scared of black activists like Reverend Al at the time and whatnot. So they tried to keep a lid on any real controversial racial statements and maybe jokes that we did on the program, mostly me. So that bothered me, not in a sense that I was being called racist, but what the repercussions might have been at the time. Now, I don't give a fuck. Like Black Twitter is calling me racist. So many posts on this 15 million viewed tweet about you're a racist, you're terrible. All right. Call me that. I've been called that for years and years. And then I defy them to find a racist tweet. There are race-based jokes I make that are obviously jokes, but anything I post that's serious that involves race isn't racist. It's racial. It's racial. It's racial. It might be controversial. It might be offensive to some people, but it's an opinion, mostly an observation. And I'm completely entitled to it. And by making them and posting them, I am not breaking rules. I'm not harassing anybody. I'm not using hateful speech. I'm commenting on things I see on a daily basis that are based in race. So I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm not going to apologize for it. And I'm certainly not going to be upset if you call me racist. The other tactic that I noticed that is pretty funny if you think about it a little bit, were black people on Twitter last night, because I am Italian. For some reason, they like likening Italians, especially, I'm half Sicilian. So Sicilians, they must have watched True Romance and seen Dennis Hopper's speech and believe that I must be black. And there's black Twitter accounts that were posting insulting me by calling me black. And I'm like, wow, if that isn't a sign of unbelievable self-hatred that a black person would use calling someone black as a horrible insult. Yeah, why would you think that's an insult? First of all. So I found that a little interesting. And then others were just a litany of accomplishments made by Africans and African Americans, global African people and African Americans over the course of history. And you got to read through, George Washington Carver, Peanut Guy. The stoplight. You always hear about the stoplight. Thomas Edison's light bulb, that filament. So, a lot of that popped up. And again, just missing the point totally. Trying to deflect from what I'm saying, that there is a hypocrisy, just yet another hypocrisy, by the way. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I was enjoying myself responding to some of these people that some of them just literally made an account. It had 0 followers, 0 followed, and 0 posts before they, posted 1 for myself. So if you enjoyed that clip,
then subscribe to Compound Censored using this promo code.